that God, like, knowing that all things are possible.
Yeah.
Christ will strengthen me.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I like that.
It was really
Is that
good.
Paul?
I think, yeah, that's Paul.
Okay.
It's Peter.
That's a good one.
Peter.
Abraham.
Oh my.
So,
Isaac.
back to our story of the disciples. So Jesus woke up to quite a scene. Okay, he woke up, the disciples are in his face screaming like, "We need your help!"
Bloody.
And the boat's sinking and all that. And
But you would think if it was sinking, then it'd be like full of water where Jesus was sleeping, right?
say what?
If it was sinking, there would be like water in the bottom of the boat where Jesus was sleeping.
I mean, not necessarily. It would
But
have
if
to
it-
travel down.
Well,
But
technically,
it just depends on
it
what it
wouldn't-
is.
like a hole or something in the bottom of the ship.
It wasn't like
In
sinking.
a storm, it was coming on top.
Yeah, it wasn't like sinking. It was
But-
just like splashing over the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wouldn't take the boat down. I just take it probably the front.
So Jesus wakes up, and in Matthew 8:26 it says, he basically rebuked them and said, "O ye of little faith."
I love those things.
And then we see that Jesus stood up and he said to the storm, what did he say? Peace, be still. And instantly, just as soon as the storm came, it was gone. Okay? It was, as soon as he said those words, completely still, completely as it should have been before the storm came. And, I'm sure every one of us has a story where we've had little faith, where we've had faith, or didn't have the faith that we should have when God wanted us to have faith. I know I've had many of those experiences through my life. So but there's also been times when I've had peace when I should have had fear. About now is the time that, because I'm graduating in May, so now is the time that I look for a job, right? And the pressure really gets on you. So
Yeah,
I had a career fair, which is where all the companies come to OSU, and I go around to the companies, talk to them, hand out my resumes, be like, "Hey, please hire me," blah, blah, blah. You don't say that to them, basically that's what you're saying to them. And and in that situation, a lot of times that's really, you get anxious and you have anxiety, you get fearful because, man, I worked 4 years for this thing, and this is really where it all, comes to, is me getting a job or me not getting a job. But the degree in the end doesn't matter. What matters is, do I have a job or not? That can be stressful. But, this career fair, I did have a peace about me because, I knew I do my part. And so God, He's not going to just leave me stranded, in the middle of nowhere. But He sees exactly where I am, and He's going to put me where He wants me to be. So does that mean, don't go to the career fair, don't talk to companies, God will work everything out how it needs to, I can just sit in my bed? No, we all need to do our own due diligence. So I printed out my resumes, I went and talked to companies, I tried to get interviews and blah, blah, blah. But I knew at the bottom of my heart, God is going to put me where He really wants me. And so, sometimes we have little faith, but other times, we can have faith in stressful situations, and that's the goal. So, in a matter of moments, the disciples went from being totally stressed, totally anxious, to in awe of God's power and in awe of what He can do. Bathroom, quickly, please. So if you were a disciple, let me ask you this: how would you have responded to the storm? Dylan, how would you have responded if you were a disciple?
I want to be good.
Say what?
I want to be good.
No, like if you're experiencing the storm and you were on the boat and you were a disciple, what do you think you would have done?
I would just jump off.
Jump off! Don't do that! But why would you have jumped off?
Because I did something wrong.
No, you didn't do anything wrong. They're just like on the ship and the storm's coming.
Ask what Trisha probably knows.
I turned on a whale.
Well, this is a different story other than Jonah and the whale.
Okay.
We're talking about the disciples. What do you think, Patricia?
I run to Jesus.
You run to Jesus? Okay. So you would have done what the disciples did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't have been fearful because I knew Jesus was on the boat.
You wouldn't have been fearful? Okay. Well, that's good.
I can't say that. I probably still would have.
Yeah.
Bro, Patricia would be like,
It's
"Can you
hard to
imagine-
say when you're
look,
sitting
look
there
at this
on
outfit.
dry
And
ground.
imagine Patricia running Jesus. And just watch her trip down the stairs.
I'm sure I would have been right along with the disciples too.
I guess a big scaredy
Thank
cat.
God. But why do you think that Jesus rebuked them? I mean, it seems like a pretty normal reaction to, you
You
know,
set an example.
set an example. What do you mean by that?
Because he was just setting an example by, he was like completely calm.
Mm-hmm.
He was sleeping, and they were all like freaking out, and he was just like, hey, you need to calm down. It's gonna be okay. You'll be okay. I think if they would like came down and said, hey, we need your help, like in a really calm manner, that he would have rebuked him, you know? I
Yeah.
don't know, that's just me.
But hold on. In verse 24 says, and suddenly a great tempest arose. What does that mean?
The storm.
Yeah.
So like a tempest, like it.
I just see them like running out there, like slamming the door open, like screaming, you know, at him,
Like,
shaking him. And he's like, hey, calm down.
Yeah. I'm sure you're just waking up.
He's just like, and they're like,
Whoa. Okay, so I want to read. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Whenever I got hit in the face with a softball, my nose was bleeding. Everything's like,
See,
stop
Papa?
screaming! and then my dad's like, I'm like, but it helps to scream! It helps the pain!
Yeah, it does. So in Mark, and this is part of the reason I think that Jesus rebuked them. In Mark 4:35, it says, and this is the same story. It says, on the same day when evening had come, he said to them, let us cross over to the other side. Okay? So here, Jesus tells his disciples, let us go to the other side. And then they got in the boat and they left. But the point is, Jesus had already told them that they're going to make it. He had already said, let's go to the other side. You're going to make it to the other side. We're going to get to the other side. So when they, ran down to him and were like, Jesus, we're not going to make it. We're going to die here if you don't come and help us, or whatever they were saying. He, probably looked at him and be like, but I told you when we were on the shore, we're going to make it to the other side. So we are. Yes.
I find this very funny because the same chapter, verse 10 says, when Jesus heard it, he marveled and said to those who followed, surely I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel.
Yeah.
And later on, he's like, oh yeah.
So that goes back to what we talked about last week with Peter, We have ups and downs in our walk, but we have to just stay there, stay consistent, and God's going to help us. And so, Jesus had already told them, hey, you're going to make it. So when they came down, that's part of the reason, he rebuked them and said, your lack of faith, because he had already assured them that, yes, they were going to make it to the other side. So, it might be that you need to experience something so that your faith is deepened as you watch God work. Sometimes we go through things. I'm sure that the disciples, had a lot more faith in Jesus and what he could do after the storm than before the storm. Because they'd never seen him do anything like that before.
Seeing
And
is
now-
believing, apparently.
Say what?
It says seeing is believing in them.
Yeah. It is.
Maybe that's what Jesus was trying to tell them not to have. Is to have blind faith and not have to see stuff before you.
And that could be very true. Because
Because they called Thomas doubting Thomas
yeah.
because he had to see it first.
Yeah.
Before he believed.
And then he said, blessed are those that will believe and not see.
Believe and not see, yeah.
That's right. So, I've faced things in my life, and I've had to be patient with God and not rush him. Last semester was especially hard for me. There were a few things, going on in my personal life, and I was like, man, how am I ever going to make it through this? I'm going to fail out of college, and
Can you
This
actually
is-
fail out of college?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can.
I'm gonna, do this wrong, or I'm gonna do that wrong, and this is gonna go way out where it doesn't need to be, and all these things. But I just stayed in the boat. I just did what I could, do what I knew how to do. Took mentorship from those that mentored me, and look at me. I'm here today. Got both my hands, both my feet. I'm doing all right.
Nice hands.
And that is another building block in me and God's relationship, and that's important that we understand what I just said. Is everything you go through is a building block, in your relationship with God. Stepping stone, whatever.
Depends on how you use it.
But every time you sit down to pray, every minute you spend in prayer, don't think of that as wasted time. Think of that, as a building block in your relationship with God. Every time you fast, every time you sacrifice, every time you have an opportunity to give into that temptation but you don't, that is a stepping stone in your relationship with God. And at the end of your life, you might have this big old wall that represents you and God's relationship. So, and when we go through storms and we stick with God and we trust Him, that's a big old stepping stone in our life. And I feel like sometimes in my prayer, I think of, the conversations that me and God had, or the trials that I was like, man, I can't get through this, God, last semester. And, that gives me strength to know that, man, me and God, we've been through the storm together. We've been through the trials together, and look at us now. We're still together, and we're still here now. And so it's important that, we understand that, God is going to help us through these things. And, one last point before we kind of shut down is that storms, other fishermen were in the sea, right? There were other boats, other things that were in the sea as the storm came. And then I'm sure they experienced the same thing that the disciples did. But all of a sudden, they were in this huge storm and it just went silent, peace. The storm was calm. And then I'm sure word got around that it was this man called Jesus,
Then probably got to King Herod and the Pharisees and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, maybe, but tonight we're going to talk about how, that influenced and that may have impacted someone's life. So the storm that the disciples went through, allowed others to hear about Jesus.
Affected everyone around them.
Yeah, it did affect everyone around them. And so, we can be lights. Be a light during your storm, and that's going to be a witness to who Jesus is.
Well, I had to run to place.
So your peace in the midst of chaos is evidence of the one who gives peace. Okay? So when you have peace in the trials and the struggles of your life, that's going to show other people, like, man, why is he different?
Why
And then
is he
you
so
can-
calm?
Yeah, why is he so calm? Why is everything okay with him? And that's one thing that I've been working on personally. I haven't been doing a good job this semester, but actually, just a couple of days ago, I started thinking about how I can do better at this. But when kids come to me, or my peers or whatever, when we're talking about classes, sometimes I talk about my classes in a negative way, like, man, this is really tough. I don't know how I'm going to get through this week, or, man, I have an exam coming up and it's just rough, man. And, I'm talking to my peers like that, and I thought, man, every time someone comes to me, I need to be positive. I need to be uplifting. I'm like, hey, I know you're going through, a tough time. I know you had 2 exams, but you can make it through this. Or, man, I know this
Finals is coming up.
finals are coming up. I know this homework assignment's really tough, but if we work together, we can get through this. And just being that light to where every time they encounter me, I have a positive attitude. And eventually they're going to see something's different about him. He has the same class as I have, but every time I go to him and talk to him, he has a positive attitude. He helps me through this. And so that's my goal. That's how I'm going to try and get better, these coming weeks, is to be that positive reinforcement for others. And so just like how I can be calm in this storm, that can be a witness to others. And it's important for us to realize that. So as we close, and there's some final reflections, questions. So in what areas of your life could you use the strength of the Lord? Maybe you're dealing with something currently. So just think about that. If you want, there should be a section in your book that you can write, these things down. Next is, why do you think God seems silent or inactive certain times in your life? And then the last question is, why is it important to keep faith in God's ability and faithfulness during hard times? And we've kind of discussed each one of those, but just think about it, and you can write those things down if you feel like you want to or need to. So as we close and we go upstairs, we're going to say a prayer together, and I have some prayer points here that we're going to kind of pray through. And as I pray and as I talk, say your own prayer, talk through it, and we're going to talk through this together. And let's really get something from God, these next 3 minutes or however long. So, Lord, I thank you for this day. I pray, God, that you would move upon Dylan and Landon and Kaylin and Colby and Patricia and myself right now in this time of prayer. I believe that something great can happen, Lord. I pray, Jesus, that you would strengthen us as we learn to trust you. This is a process, and we know that, and it's hard sometimes to trust you, but I pray that you would give each one of us strength as we trust you. Sometimes we feel that you're silent, and in those times, Lord, let us choose to trust you and to have patience with you, God. Because I know we don't need to have patience with you, Lord, but give us just a patient heart, and let us trust you in all things. Even though you may seem inactive sometimes, let us always trust you, Lord. Give us strength and courage when our faith is low. Sometimes the storms of life may come and rock our boat a little bit, but give us, encouragement in our spirits, and give us strength that when our faith isn't right, Lord, we can pick up, our bootstraps, and we can just continue on in this fight, and we can get to a place where our faith can continue and start to increase. Thank you for the storms that you've given me in my life. Thank you for the things that you've given me in my life, so that I can be a testimony to others through the things that I've battled. And I pray that prayer for everyone in here today. And Jesus, I praise you for the storms. God, I thank you for the things that I went through that have made me who I am today. Thank you for never leaving me. Thank you for never forsaking me. In Jesus' name, I thank you. Amen. All right, appreciate it, guys.
Boy.
Go ahead and go upstairs. Are you?
I didn't talk over you.